Welcome to Happily Ever After, the podcast where we talk about life's big stories. From breakups and breakdowns to icky secrets and happy endings, it's the stuff that makes us human. I'm your host, Hannah Harvey. I'm a writer and a parenting blogger at mumsdays.com. That's mumsdays.com. I'd be really grateful if you could subscribe and leave a review because it basically means more people can find the podcast. And I also really love hearing from you, so please do contact me through Instagram at mumsdays with any of your stories really and you know how you relate to the episode or even questions that you may want answering. You can find all the details from this episode in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Happily Ever After. It's me, Hannah, and today I'm joined by my lovely newish friend, Joanne Patterson. Hi, Jo.
Hiya.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for asking.
So our story dates back 19 weeks. Did you know that?
Is it 19 weeks, is
19 weeks since
Wow.
the first. I was heartbroken, didn't know what to do with myself. And I'd been told by several people I need to go get in the sea with Dip Club.
Okay.
And you saw that story that I did, didn't you?
I did. I saw you walking down, was it South Parade?
More or less, yeah.
Saying on your stories that you were going to Dip Club and you wanted to meet some new friends. And I replied to that story saying you could come and make friends with us.
Yay.
And then we met.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
And you have been like quite consistently through the journey of me dipping every day. You've been keeping in contact loads, which is like for me been absolutely lovely. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Right.
And inviting me in. So for anybody who doesn't know, Joanne every single morning
Yes.
gets up at like 5 a.m. and gets in the sea. And if you follow her stories, you'll see that she does a dance. She makes all her friends basically cartwheel into the sea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's at 5:30 in the morning. So the alarm was set for 4:40. I like to have a coffee before I leave the house,
Yeah.
obviously, to wake myself up a bit. And yeah, in the next couple of hours, it's just spent sort of, you know, creating some energy, creating some space, getting in the sea, you know, getting those happy hormones flowing before I head back home and get the kids up for school.
That's crazy. What time do you go to bed?
I'm trying to go earlier. Like if it's past 10 o'clock, it's too late.
Yeah.
I do try and get up, at least up the stairs by 9 o'clock, so I can sit and chill out for a bit and, you know, make sure the kids are sorted, they're happy, and then, yeah. But any later than 10 o'clock, it's a problem. I'm really tired the next day.
Yeah. I was going to say, getting up at 4:40.
4:40.
That's very early.
Yeah.
So when I started, that first day I was like, whoa, I feel completely, insanely amazing.
Yeah.
And then the next day I happened to be going to the beach anyway with my family. So I got in again and then I'd started a 2-day streak.
Yeah. It's so addictive,
And
isn't
then
it?
I think it was that day that I'd seen that you'd done something like 30 in a row already.
Yeah.
So you must have started like the month before me.
11th of April, my first step was, yeah.
Yeah. And you'd done this story about how much it had changed your life and how much you felt better for it and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I've carried on, because I saw what you were doing.
It's just so addictive, isn't it?
Why did you start?
Well, I started because, so I would probably say for about 2 years. And looking back now, you know, I can see exactly what was going on when you're in sort of that situation. And it was a slow, gradual sort of decline of started losing interest in things that I used to love, like going to the beach with the kids or going to the gym, going out for walks, you know, just basic things like that. I was struggling with really bad fatigue. You know, come 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I literally could not do anything else other than lie down. And I didn't realise what was really going on. I just actually started to think, well, this must be what getting old feels like. You know, I'm slowing down, but I'm not ready to slow down. My brain's not catching up. And I went to the gym one morning and I walked into the gym and I just had this well, what I know now was a hot flush.
Oh.
This just wave of heat come over me, and I was like, wow, is this a hot flush? That's what I thought to myself straight away. I was like, and actually, my PT Matty said, are you having a hot flush? And I was like, I think I might
maybe.
be. And it was at that point I went home and started thinking, okay, well, you're almost 50, you know. But I still did think at that point I was too young for menopause, my basic knowledge on it. And then I started doing my own research. So it turns out that I'm what is referred to as perimenopausal, which Davina likes to call the evil twin sister of menopause. And this is the run-up to menopause, where your hormones are declining. They're very erratic. So for parts of the month, I'll feel on top of the world. And then other times of the month, I'll feel like I just can't even function at all. I'm so tired, quite miserable. So I started my a journey of HRT. But I still felt like something was missing, like I needed to do something to challenge myself. I had watched another girl dip in for a year. And I was like, you know what? And she always puts on social media, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to message her. So I messaged Sarah, and I said, I'm going to dip. And I think I might have done that 2 or 3 times before I actually committed and went to meet her. And the first dip was at Whitley Bay.
Who's Sarah?
Sarah Goldsborough.
What's her
The
handle?
the Geordie Ice Queen.
Yeah, I thought so.
And so I took the kids were like, yeah, we'll come. And the kids
This
actually
was in April.
That was the 11th of April.
Wow.
So we got in the sea, and I can honestly say I felt like my soul had left my body when I went in the sea. It was bitter. It took my breath away, literally. And I couldn't think of anything else other than how cold that water was. I didn't really know what was going on. I did manage to do a dunk my head right under, and that made me feel like really, I was like, wow, I've done that. And I think we were in about 5 or 6 minutes. And then I went home, and I think I just felt really like euphoric. I was like, wow, I've just done that. And if I could do it, and I might do it again. And then, and I said to Sarah, are you going tomorrow? And she was like, yeah, I'm going tomorrow. So
Go every day, baby.
Yeah. And I went, and we met at Colour Coats. And it just sort of progressed from there. And I just fell in love with the way it made me feel. Instantly made me feel alive, full of energy, like I could do anything. And I was like, well, if it's making me feel this good, I'm not going to stop doing it. Yeah. And that's where it sort of all started. And I've just done, I don't know which day it was, just hit 150 days consecutive.
Yeah.
So I've decided to go for the year.
May as well, right?
Yeah, I'm halfway. Well, I keep saying I'm halfway there.
Halfway there, man.
And I think doing it in the winter is, I'm excited for that, I think, because I know how cold it's going to be. Well, I don't, like the 11th of April felt quite cold to me. It was very grim on a more, like when we were going like early in the morning, the sea was quite rough. And I think that because I've got it's become a habit, I'm quite comfortable with it. I know what to expect. It's just going to keep pushing me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. So the last time I went with you, I remember we were just about to go in, and you were like, "Oh, why do I do this?"
Yeah.
So it's not like that feeling of.
Yeah.
It's not like it necessarily gets easier. Yeah. Like some days, obviously, you'll be like skipping in and whatever, but there are still the days when you're like, seriously, why the fuck am I doing this?
Absolutely, because like it's obviously when you do it with Dip Club, there's so many people on the beach, and everybody's excited, and everybody's running in, and obviously you run to a schedule, so you've got to like get there for the photo, and then you all run together, and I think that's why a lot of people like Dip Club, because of that sort of environment. But there are the days when I wake up in the morning, I'm tired, and when I get onto the coast road, if I can't see any sort of sunrise, I'm like really disappointed. I'm like, oh my, where's the sun? Where's the sun? And if it's raining,
oh my God, I know.
It's quite brutal. It's grim. It's cold. You take your stuff off, it's going to get wet, even though you're getting wet.
Getting dry afterwards.
Getting dry.
It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, it can be quite grim. But for all the days that it's grim, when you get that spectacular sunrise, it's like, wow. This is why I'm doing it, because you know, there's a saying, is there like along the lines of, you know, like, you know, every day there will, you know, there's going to be a new day at some, you know, like I can't remember the saying, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, every day's a new day. And
yeah, the sun will always rise again, and it does. And when it does, it just reminds me of why I like to be on the beach at sunrise.
At that time.
Yeah, yeah, because that's the time I like to do it,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
sunrise.
Yeah, if you want to dip with Joe, get ready to set your alarm really fucking early.
We're doing it in the dark at the moment. Well, it can be quite dark, but, you know, we're getting it done. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think, because what I've worked out through getting to know you is we have very similar story.
Yeah.
So like 6 years ago, we both quit drinking.
Yeah.
And before we talk about that, because I really am interested to know what you were thinking whilst I was also thinking the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about that. But before that, I'm wondering if there's something in there needing to do something every day. Because if you don't do it one day, it then means it's harder to do it the next day.
Yeah.
Do you think you could skip a day and then still get back into it?
I don't know. There's been times where I've thought, I'm not doing it in the morning because I know it's going to be raining and I'll go later in the day. But I know come 4 o'clock, you know, once the kids are in from school, one's going to football, one's going to gymnastics, the thought of then thinking, but I have to do a dip. I've got to do a dip as well. Plus, doing it in the morning sets me up for the day. There is definitely an element of, if I miss, I'll feel like I've let myself down. That's what I think I'll feel, and that's probably, you know, something that I might have to work on because it's putting pressure.
It's the
unnecessary
addiction
pressure.
thing that I'm wondering about. I'm exactly the same.
Addictive behaviours, but it's a healthy addiction, and and because I know of unhealthy addictions, this is something I'm more than happy to sort of pursue. As long as I can, you know, like, will I continue to do it after I've done the year? Absolutely, I probably will, but I'm going to try not to sort of beat myself up if I can't make it one morning. Yeah. Or, you know, or, because I dipped every day when I went in the, on holiday as well. Obviously the climate is completely different.
I'm sorry, where were you?
Yeah,
was it Wales? No. Oh no, it was Turkey.
Yeah. But I also read that the cold water shock thing, it doesn't matter. It's cold water exposure based on your current body temperature.
Oh, okay.
So when you've adapted to the heat of being away, getting into the sea it's still cold.
Oh, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was away in April in Spain and I didn't go in the sea.
Right.
I went up to like my waist maybe, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then it came back to Britain and I'm getting in the North Sea every day. Yeah. So it's once you get over the initial, like now, neither of us, if we go in the water, we're not like, which you do get at first. Mm-hmm. That whole like shock, cold water shock.
I think now I know what to expect when I'm going in there, which we going back to what you were saying before, you sometimes go, why do I keep doing this to myself? Because you know what's coming. You know it's going to be cold. You know it's going to probably, you know, shock you when you first get in. You know it's going to take a little bit of time to pluck up the courage to get under. But you also know that once you get under, that release and that excitement and that energy that it builds is just, there's nothing else like it that I've experienced.
Totally. Amazing. I haven't been in yet.
Have you not?
I'm gonna. I'm already excited about it.
The sun is shining, you know.
Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Get down there and get in.
And so who are the people that you dip with now? Because you've got a little like crew of people that are always with you.
So it's just, I think sort of as I've sort of progressed on my journey, you know, sort of the people that some people just, they don't dip every day, they just dip as and when they can. The only one who's actually been dipped every single day that I have, well actually no, that's not true. I've dipped every single day of his journey, because he done it a couple of days after me, is Dan. And Dan is like the sort of I hope you wouldn't mind me saying the dad of our group. You know, he's you know, he's the one consistent, he's always there, he's happy to dance with me. And he's been on this incredible journey of weight loss. He's lost 10 stone.
Wow.
He looks amazing. And yeah, so he's, you know, so obviously he's dipping every day. He wants to do he's just hit his 150 days as well. And, you know, he's like, I'm just going to go for the year as well. So the consistents are me and Dan, and then you've got other people that'll dip when they can, you know, if there's childcare issues, you know, sometimes once a week, sometimes once, you know, sort of once every couple of weeks, but it doesn't matter, you know,
Just
like...
come when you can.
Yeah, just come when you can.
And expect to dance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I can't help that. You know, the feeling of I think is a build up to getting in the sea. So like, it's, you know, your energy's already high, and yeah, the next thing is just to run into the sea.
I love it.
I do as well.
You need to get down more. It's just that thing first thing in the morning when you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy getting up at 4:40 in the morning, but it's worth it.
It is.
It is worth it, definitely.
And do you feel like it's helped with your perimenopausal symptoms?
Yeah. Well, you know that I was asked to do the Speedo Outdoor UK series for partnership with Dip Club to raise awareness. Obviously, because I think what I realised, my initial thought was when I thought I might be. What, you know, is the only thing I knew was I was in menopause, was that my first feeling of that was I feel really old now. And I need to pull back a bit and not be seen as much. I felt that I was just, it was an awful sort of, I felt like I was grieving, I think, a little bit, you know, and I've read that it's referred to as that because there was an element of, oh wow, I feel really old, and then another one was like, and I can't have any more kids. Even though I didn't want any more children. I've got 2 children, right? I was never going to have any more, but I think there's just that element of like, okay, the woman side of, you know, my role here is almost like, it's about to be sort of like cut, you know, and I'm not ready for that. But actually, there's so much more information out there now. But what I did realise was that obviously friends who are my age, they weren't talking about this, and I was like, why aren't people not talking about this? And probably for the same reasons, because of the rate, you know, the way I felt was they feel old, they feel like, oh my goodness, this is like an old thing that's going to happen to us, and they were just, you know, didn't really know where to go for advice, didn't know where to find advice, so I thought, well, I'm going to do the talking for them then. And just start sharing, as painful as it was at the time, to, you know, to build up the courage to put it out there and go, okay, so this is where I'm at, and I've just realised this is what it is, and, you know, about why we should talk about it, because, I mean, I've got a 12-year-old daughter. I don't want her to get to my age and start thinking, am I depressed, you know, or being offered antidepressants when she's not depressed, and to look back and go, actually, my mum was like this, you know, my mum said to me, if I feel like this, if I feel, you know, and just start looking for them sort of symptoms and go, actually, this is what's wrong with me. Because I think we've been done a massive disservice by, it's almost like a dirty secret. You know, nobody talks about it. Certainly, I think at school, it's not something, you know, it's openly discussed. I don't even know how I heard about sort of menopause. I think my basic understanding was that your monthly cycle stops, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, in actual fact, that's not, like, that is the end result, and that's just one day. So you don't know you're actually in menopause until the last day that you've missed your cycle for 12 months in a row, and then it's just one day, and that's it. But there's other health implications to losing your hormones as well, like osteoporosis, sort of heart conditions. So it's, there's not enough information. However, that's definitely improving over the last 2 years. More people are talking about it, and the amount of girls that have had drop into my inbox and go, "This is what I'm feeling. This is definitely what I'm, you know, the symptoms I've got." And there are many symptoms. The basic ones, obviously, you know, like the hot flushes, you know, the restless legs and things like that. But there's so many more.
And I'm pretty sure it goes on for longer than we realise.
Yeah.
So I've just turned 40. And sometimes when I'm talking about stuff online, people would be like, you should maybe get checked out because you could be in,
I think, from
perimenopause.
Yeah, because like I think from, is it right, sort of mid-30s, a woman's hormones will naturally start to decline anyway.
Exactly right.
So
is that like I don't know, could be 20 years.
Yeah, so they read. So I've read, conflicting where perimenopause could last, anything up to 6 years, and then somebody will say, well, women's hormones start to decline naturally from the age 35 anyway, but from probably mid-40s, that's when you really might start noticing a difference. And I think that a lot of women, just because they feel tired, they feel irritable, they're arguing with their partners, their children, they're snappy, they've got no tolerance for anything, and they just they put weight on, and they're struggling, and they don't realise that actually it's their hormones, they're fluctuating, and they're just going absolutely mental. And they go to the doctors. I went to the doctors. I was offered antidepressants 3 times, but I knew I wasn't depressed. Not that I know what depression feels like, but I was like, well, I don't feel like this all the time, though. You know, I'm okay, sometimes, but then other times and I started convincing myself I was really unwell, and I maybe had some sort of cancer or something like that. And I was like, I've got to get to the bottom of this. And I read a post in a group, a perimenopause support group, and the woman had written, I've tried and tried and tried for the last 3 years to get some sort of balance with HRT, with other things that have been recommended, and I'm not making any progress. So I've decided to not do anything about it and just accept where I am. And this is just, I'm just going to be this person for the rest of my life. And I was like, no. And I made a promise to myself then, we are not going to let this happen. We are going to get back to some sort of version of me that I was before all of this started. And I couldn't be any better, in a better place than what I am now. And that is definitely because of the sea. 100%. I'm just so full of life again. I'm literally sort of bouncing off the walls. I'm like, yeah, man. And I did the Dip Club series thing for them to raise awareness, to get women talking about, about perimenopause, menopause, and it be an open and honest conversation. It's not something that should just be hidden and that you should do on your own. It should be talked about, because actually men need to get on board with this as well. They've got mothers, they've got daughters, they've got sisters, and it affects everyone, and at least if they know, oh, well, actually, my son will say to me, your hormones going mental again because you're a little bit snappy, but are they? Yeah, possibly. Yes, you're right. Yes, okay. I'll back off. So, yeah, and talk about it openly and honestly is what we need to be doing.
Definitely, because it's kind of like this scary...
Yeah, it is
thing
scary.
That we're meant to be going into, and why should we go into it alone when half the population does it? Yeah.
Well, 50% of the population are going to go through menopause. So why are we not talking about it? Why are we not? But I see stuff popping up all over the place now about it.
I think a lot of the stuff around what Davina's done. Yeah. And I read this amazing book a few years ago by a woman called Maisie, I can't remember her surname, put it in the show notes, called Period Power. And that was all about how to manage your hormones when you're on your period. And that completely changed the way I looked at my own cycle and managing, I guess it's like keeping track of what your emotions are doing so that you can be like, oh, I'm ovulating. Yeah. Like the last couple of weeks have been... super fast paced. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, now I need to slow down because if I don't, I'm going to crash.
100%. And it's not. I mean, a lot of women don't even know their own cycles. I mean, I didn't.
Exactly, I didn't until a few years ago. And then she's since written a book called Menopause Power. Right. Which will be my next read.
Oh, I might read that then.
Yeah, but it's things like that, and then obviously all the stuff Davina's doing. And, just opening it up because. It shouldn't be a secret, and we shouldn't feel like we have to now go into hiding because our service here is done on this planet. Yeah,
and I think that's the articles I read when I first started, researching for myself. I think I found an old article from 1991 that said, for women, they may feel like their life is coming to an end, their role as a mother.
At the age of 45.
Yeah, and I was like, what am I reading? No, and it's no wonder, And like I said to my mother, how old were you when you went through menopause? And she went, I went through early. I was like early 40s. We'd lost my dad when my mum was 40. She went, and it pretty much went, happened then. And she went, but I sailed through it. And I'm like,
Did
yeah.
you?
And I'm like, I beg to differ. Do you know, like, because I think
Grieving
that grief.
and
menopause.
Oh.
I mean, there's a fundamental flaw in this whole menopause thing anyway, because like for most women, especially women who've had children, they're going to start going through perimenopause, menopause when their children are teenagers. Yeah, and it's like, come on, do you know what I mean? Dealing with a teenager and your own hormones, it's not easy. It's not easy. You are going to be snappy.
Ooh.
You're definitely going to be snappy, 100%. I can guarantee that.
And then your kids are going to start being like, you're being especially snappy tonight, Mother. Are you feeling hormonal?
Yeah. 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 But that's why, if you have these conversations with them and let people know what's going on, then you're not snapping at them and then them being like, what is wrong with Mum? What's wrong with Mum? Is she okay?
What have I done wrong?
Yeah. They're like, yeah, okay, we know what's going on. Why don't you go and jump in the sea?
Mum, I really think we should go back to the sea. But that's what's so lush about the sea, I think, because we're just playing.
Yeah, it's an inner child's like piece of work, isn't it? That 10, 15 minute. Well, you've only got to listen to some of the videos that come out of, that I do on the beach. I've started posting them actually, the little laughs that we have as well. Because I do post always with the music on. Mm-hmm. But now I started posting a few of like, outtakes, to see what really goes on. Because it's easy to make it look easy. But if you show people that actually it does challenge you, it is going to take some strength to get in there. But when you hear some of the laughter coming out of the sea, people shrieking because they were playing in the waves, it's such an amazing way to meet people, to challenge yourself, and to have some good old fun,
it's like,
and it's free.
Bonding on steroids.
Totally.
Because you go in, you're like stripped of everything that's going on in your head. So all you have is this like euphoric feeling, and then you're with somebody else who's doing it with you.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you not supercharge the bond?
Totally. And you're going to meet so many people as well. And I think that you're vulnerable anyway because you're going into the sea in just your bather.
Yeah.
But everybody else is in that situation as well. I've never once felt judged, by other women, and I think we can tend to get caught up in that. And I've never once looked at someone and went, you looking better in that bather than I do. Nothing like that. It's like everybody's just sort of, praising each other and like, oh my God, you look amazing, and just sharing each other's stories and getting involved and meeting up out, in other, sort of little events as well, and marshmallows and a fire on the beach. I mean, you can't get more perfect than that, like on a summer's evening. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing compared to the party girl I used to be. This is just a life I think I've always wanted to live, but didn't really know how to live it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Very much relate to that. Which leads us nicely to 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So you've just had 10th of September, your 6-year anniversary of quitting drinking.
Yeah.
And I quit on the 21st of October that same year.
Okay.
So a month or so later.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk me through what was happening?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been, a party girl all of my life. I raved, through the 90s. I had nobody, I didn't have any children. And when everyone else stopped raving, I carried on, I just wanted to, I just partied hard all the time, I would work through the week and obviously then just go out and absolutely get obliterated on a weekend. And at times it was problematic. I would, just go out to get drunk. And I would go out and get drunk because I couldn't, when I say this now, it sounds so bizarre, but I think my mantra was, well, I just can't be myself. If I can't go out and be myself if I haven't had a drink.
Oh yeah, I totally relate
to that. But
when
you look at that now and strip that back and you think, well, actually then, so who was that person? Because it wasn't me. You know, you've got this sort of ego about you that's like, well, certainly for me, it was like, I need this, I need to do this to give me the confidence to go out. So I would start drinking, you know, well before I went out. I mean, I would pass out earlier, but, you know, I would drink before I went out. And, you know, if there was an after party, I'd be there. But then I would carry on drinking, like on a Sunday, and then a Sunday
Hair
went
with the
into...
dog and all that, yeah.
And then a Sunday went into a Monday off work, and then a Monday off work went into a week off work. And there would be like periods in my life where I would say, okay, that's it, I'm done. And I wouldn't drink. And then as soon as there was like a social event or somebody's birthday or Christmas or anything like that, it would be, I know what's coming. I don't want to, like, but it'll be fine this time. You know, like, I know different now.
Yeah, I can moderate.
Yeah, I can just have one. I can just have, like, I can not drink spirits and just, you know, just have a few cheeky halves. But, like, once you have one, all bets are off.
Yeah.
It is, you know, it's pretty much like, it's a free-for-all at that point. And then I had 2 children. Well, you know, obviously I had my first, and I didn't drink throughout both pregnancies. I breastfed both children, and that was, like, I enjoyed, you know, sort of like that. I'd left that party lifestyle behind, but eventually, you know, when the kids were toddlers, it was like, you know what, I'm gonna have a half, and it's gonna be fine because I'm a different person now. I'm a mum. Yeah. Why would I, you know, I'm not a party girl anymore. Why would that happen? And slowly but surely that just started, you know, infiltrating back in. You know, a weekend would be, you know, like that's, well, you know, it would just start again. And then I would be ill through the week, you know, like trying to be a mum, trying to work, and it just caused so many issues, you know, in my life. Everything just sort of, you know, if I look back and unpick it, it was like every problem I seemed to have just always led back to, you know, oh, the drink will be the solution. I can't deal with that now. Let's just have a bottle of wine instead. And it just got quite dark and depressing. And I separated from the kids' dad March 2017, and the next 6 months of that was really quite. It wasn't a very nice time, because obviously I was trying to deal with the separation, trying to deal with being a single mum, and as soon as the kids went to bed, it would be like, right, okay, this is how I'm going to deal with this, and
this is how I unwind. I'll just have a glass.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just have half a bottle and put the rest in
I'll
the
be
fridge.
fine.
Yeah.
And I think that it just got to a point where I thought, if I don't do something about this now, it's going to be a decision that's taken out of my hands. And that's when I said, you know, I made it. You know, I was frightened of my own shadow at that point. By the way, I was like terrified of everything. I was frightened. I was anxious. I was paranoid. I was just really literally surviving.
Yeah.
And I started looking to try and get some help, and I found that quite difficult. You know, there was an element of shame. Mm-hmm. In fact, it wasn't an element of shame. There was a lot of shame. You know, how does a mum of 2 go and ask for help, you know, about stopping drinking alcohol, without it being a full, you know, sort of, I felt like it was going to be a witch hunt, and, you know, like, oh, okay, we'll have another one, you know, like, but actually, I did, you know, you've got to push to find this thing. It's not readily, some of this information isn't readily available. It's like, oh, well, you know, just reduce your drinking, or just don't, you know, go to the doctors and they'll say, well, maybe just when you go out, don't drink cocktails. And it's like, none of it is obviously very helpful, but they're limited resources. But finding your way into some real help proved quite difficult. But once I found it, and I was like, okay, this is it. But this is going to be the start of. You have to get to a point where you accept, right, that you have got a problem with alcohol and you need to do something about it. You can't go into this or like with I'm going to sort it out and I'm going to be able to have a drink at Christmas, right? You have to have sickened yourself enough where you think, no, that's it, I'm done. And I was at that point. And this is my journey then for the last 6 years, was sort of, you're almost starting again to build a new life. you might have to move away from people that you've spent most of your adult life with, you know, friends that have, you know, just want to continue to do that kind of thing. It's quite a lonely place. It is very lonely. But slowly but surely you just start to feel better every day, and you're like, okay, what can I do now? Where can I go next? And
who helped you?
so I went to a place in Wallsend. I think they've got a few places actually. It's called NTRP.
NTRP,
which is North, I'm sure it stands for North Tyneside Recovery Partnership.
Okay.
So they have a load of like sort of resources and people that can give you advice on, you know, how to reduce your drinking, you know, where you could go, meetings you could go to if you wanted to. And
did you do AA?
I went to loads of AA meetings. Yeah. I mean, I went to loads of AA meetings.
Yeah.
Did in
that
the
help?
early days? Yeah. I mean, like
it's meeting other people, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that I was frightened to go there as well because I was like, oh God, I'm
what
not
if
that
social
bad.
services are outside?
Yeah,
that too.
Yeah, I'm not that bad. And then you always think to yourself as well, what if I go there and I see somebody I know? But then you'll realise that, like, well, actually, if there's somebody...
they're there too.
They're exactly. And, you know, you have these sort of misconceptions of what it's going to be like when you get in there. And when I went, and I remember going to my first meeting, sitting there and thinking, oh, my goodness me, like, you will hear some awful, horrific stories, but you will also hear for people that didn't make it as well, you know, like... It's quite a scary place to be, you know, and your mental health is on the floor. You're, you know, crying out internally for somebody to just sort of say it's going to be all right, you know. And then when that doesn't come, and you know that it's all down on you to do it, it's like you've got to do that. You have to do that journey yourself. Like people can want it for you, but until you're ready to go, I'm done here. I'm absolutely done. So I'm going to do whatever I can now to change my life. And I just sort of made my way through. Like, they were, by the way, they were amazing. Like NTRP, there's so many resources that they've got access to. But I eventually like sort of reduced the drinking till I wasn't drinking any alcohol. Because by that point, by the way, like I was, I would look sober, but I was just so topped up with alcohol, and that was just to keep me upright. It was pretty grim. And yeah, and they helped me, and I'll be forever grateful for them. I do often actually call in, you know, to say hi. I mean, people change there all the time, but it definitely got me on the right track, you know, because going to GP, the services have been sort of outsourced from them now. They don't really deal with that kind of thing. There's not really a lot of information, you know, if you're starting to look for yourself. It's like, what do I do? Where do I go? You know, but it's, single-handedly the best decision, you know, that I've ever made.
When one of the things that really stuck out for me when I first quit was that I just had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of like, well, I have to keep drinking because that's when my personality comes out.
Yeah.
And I'll have no friends, and I'll be I was always really terrified of being boring.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just be the boring one, and everyone will cut me off.
I mean, I've tried that, and I've went out and I was like, okay, I'm not drinking, but I'm still going to go out with the people that I would used to go out with anyway, and just torment myself, basically, do you know, like...
so you wouldn't do that?
Yeah, I've done that in the past, you know, like, and I've drank non-alcoholic, you know, beers and things like that, and I think for me, it was almost as like, but you're not changing your habits, you know, you're trying to still live a life that you no longer serves you, but you're not, the only thing that you're doing is you're drinking, like, non-alcoholic beer. The emotions that you're going through and the ideas and what underpins all of that is like sort of like what you feel about yourself. So it's like, I'm still going to put myself in a party situation, but I'm choosing not to drink alcohol. I'm just drinking non-alcoholic drinks. For me, that wasn't going to work. It had to be a complete change of lifestyle. And it's like, and take myself out of those situations. But just going back to your point there, finding out who you were, I could not sit in that house. And well, I think that was a family home that just went to sort of our home. And the kids would, you know, in the early days go up to their dad's for every other weekend. And for that weekend, I couldn't bear to be in the house by myself. It was like the negative self-talk. It was a constant battle to try and quieten that down. And of course, I now realise that what I used to do was, when I felt like that previously, I would just have a drink.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, we're all right now. Okay, we're good. Do you know? But when you're not using anything else to change the way how you feel, then you have to deal with those emotions. You have to deal with who you are. And I've done a lot of mindset work. I've been in quite a few programs. Like self-development programs, not necessarily related to alcohol or anything like that, just self-development on, you know, discovering who you are as a person, what makes you tick, what makes you laugh, what makes you, you know, joyful, and learning to connect with who you are as a person. And I laugh at myself now thinking, I can't believe I used to say to myself, you can't be yourself if you don't have a drink. Now I'm like, wow, because I love who I am. And I'm so content with the person that I am that I can just, the more time I can have on my own, Hannah, the better. Because I just love my own company, do you know what I mean? The better. I'm like, yes.
I think I still need to get there. If I'm in the because you're an extrovert, right?
And
Are you an extrovert?
What do you mean?
Like, if I sit in the house for more than an hour or two on my own, I'm like, oh my God, I fucking hate this.
I mean, there are, you know, the times where I need to, but I do like to chill. Do you know, I do like my own company. I'll go out for a walk on my own.
Yeah, I like going for a walk because I'm doing something, but it's the sitting in the house on my own thing that after a while I start being a bit like...
I mean, if I'm in the house on my own, I don't actually just sit in a seat and, you know, and I'll be doing things, you know, to occupy myself. But it took me a long time to get there. Like, I really hated who I was. I hated being alone with myself and my own thoughts. And I would go and walk on the beach for hours by myself.
That's where I think I am now.
Hours and hours and hours. Go and grab a coffee by myself. Borrow other people's dogs to take to the beach. And just and stay down there until the kids came home. Then that chaos would resume and I would be okay again. It was like, okay,
the distraction's great.
Yeah, so being on your own and learning to really discover sort of who you are, it's a process that I think you're probably going through yourself, and it's like you will get to a point where you think, I'm so happy being by myself. Do you know what I mean? Because that was another thing as well, that I'm still single after 6.5 years with no actual plan to go and I don't need anybody else. I don't need anybody. I'm really the happiest I've ever been, and I just think having somebody else on the scene would just be a distraction.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I've been through that process.
Right.
You use I think there's a few things when you stop one addiction.
Yeah.
Is you can then just pass it on to other things. So eating disorders.
Yeah.
Sex, codependency, that kind of thing is a really nice distraction.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
No.
What did you?
And I think
did anything pass on? Did you get
No. So when I decided, I was like, okay, that enough's enough. My main priority was obviously creating an environment where we could all thrive, you know, the kids, and I just sort of, okay, I'm going to just dedicate however long it takes to getting myself and my two children through, you know, this separation, keeping them as focused as I possibly could on their own lives without too much disruption, and that wouldn't include anybody else. It just needed to be me and the two kids, and just focus on them. And there was never my sister put a post out on Facebook, I think after about 3 years I was single, And she'd done it was a really lovely post, right? It was, the best picture of me, saying, okay, this is my sister. She is a single mum of 2 children, and she's been single for 3 years, right? She needs to get out and meet someone.
She put that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Were you like,
please share it? And this is what she was saying, please share it. And whilst I laughed, and people were like, oh my God, I love this, and sharing it. And oh my God, I love this, I'm sharing it. And I'm like, but... And I'm actually, people will say to me, if you met someone else, it would lighten the load. And it's like,
no,
but I don't want the load lightened. I don't need to depend on somebody else, right? I don't need to be financially supported of somebody else. The journey and the challenge for me has been getting all of that by myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to be back in a position where somebody could make a decision that would ultimately leave me homeless or my children homeless, and I'm not prepared to put myself in that situation again. So I've fought hard for the life I've got now, the person I've become, for the life that my children's got now, which is totally underpinned and financed by myself. And I've enjoyed that process, I think. In fact, I have, because I can say I did that. I think there's a saying, is it? Focus on the things that they can't take away from you, which is like your character, your personality and things like that. Which
mindset.
Because they can't, the stronger you become, the less tolerant to bullshit you are as well. It's just like, no.
Bullshit.
Yeah, no, yeah. Do you know what I mean? I just do not I can't tolerate, I know what my boundaries are now. I know what I will and won't accept. And as soon as I get a little sniff of, even just I think drama will attract itself to anyone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But there are situations now where I'll think, okay, I'm not feeling comfortable with this situation, so I'm not going to say to you, this is drama, I'm remove myself from the situation. I'll just naturally take a step back, and yeah, you're on. I'm not doing it. But...
So if you disappear from my life, I know why.
Yeah. There's no drama. I can't do drama.
I'm not dealing with your drama.
Yeah.
Take that. Because there is a little bit with a bit of sea dipping.
Oh, yeah.
Mix plenty of people together and there'll be
there's always going to be that.
fireworks.
And I think I was like, in the first sort of few months, I was like, this is amazing. And everybody's happy.
People and we all love each other.
Yeah, we all embrace each other. And then the first time I see you think a little bit of drama and you think, oh, okay, so it's like this everywhere then.
It doesn't matter what you do.
But I think that a lot when people are just naturally okay, well, I'm happy enjoying the skipping in the sea type of thing, so we're going to move away from the drama and just carry on doing what we want to do.
Skip over there.
Yeah.
Please don't follow.
Yeah, there's a beach, but there's plenty of beaches.
Exactly, there's a lot of beach to go around in the northeast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So. But yeah, and it took a, and I think again, very much like sort of menopause for women, if they're drinking at home and they're worried about how much they're drinking, they don't really know where to go for help. They don't really want to be, sort of. I know, a woman who said to her husband, "Listen, I'm drinking too much." No, you're not. Do you know what I mean? And if somebody says to you, oh my God, you haven't got a problem, man. Everyone in the Northeast drinks alcohol. This is the Northeast, we party here. And if you've got people around you who have that mentality, then you're never, I think, going to be able to sort of pull yourself away from that. If it's like, I'm not that bad, man. Everyone in the Northeast is a binge drinker.
Yeah. And when your brain is wanting you to have a drink because you are addicted, then you're naturally going to go find the people that make you feel better about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you have to, you might have to change your actual whole environment.
Interesting. I went out on Saturday night, not drinking obviously, but...
Oh, you went to a
silent disco, and I had such a good time, and I danced really hard, and it was like the first time I'd done something like that in absolutely ages, where I was properly just letting my hair down. But I wonder if that environment actually sort of triggered feeling, because I felt pretty terrible yesterday.
Right.
It's a busy day, all that kind of stuff. I've just bought a new house, so I'm a bit in that phase of still trying to step into what you've achieved and doing it all on my own with the kids.
Yeah,
and I got that real feeling of I can't do it on my own.
That's meant like I would be lying if I said that, I've got a very Snow White life now. I'm skipping through the bush, the forest with the birds, but like it's not like that at all. There are
You've got
moments.
7 little men in the background.
Yeah. Go on, hi. Huh? Like it's not like that at all. Do you know what I mean? There are very much elements of where it gets hard, like the kids are going to need something, or there's a school trip comes up or something like that. We've just fell out the school holidays and we're falling into Christmas, and I'll fall back to old ways of thinking. Not like obviously that I would I couldn't think anything worse. There is nothing that a glass of wine would ever sort out that you can't deal with yourself. But being a mum and being a single mum is really bloody hard. It's like you've got all plates spinning. So, there are going to be days where they just feel horrendous, and you think, oh my God, and then you start blaming other people with, they did what they were supposed to do. I wouldn't have to do this, but I've had a really good conversation today where we talked about exchanges of energy. And when I'm on the beach and I'm dancing with other people, and that's an exchange of energy, but it's good energy. When I'm trying to have a conversation about childcare or, child support, I'm giving all of my energy to that person, and then they're not responding in a way that I would expect them to. That then is a drain on my energy. And I have to be mindful of that, because once I start trying to get into those conversations, it can quickly, get me down, and I'm like, oh God, it's all just down to me, and it's hard. It really is hard. So don't beat yourself up for having bad days, just don't, because,
Yeah, it was a bit of a bad one. I ended up having to get my ex to come and get the kids because I was like, I can't cope.
Yeah, you can't do everything.
And there's a little element of like, but I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
And you do have to keep that in mind, because, he does have them 50-50, so I do get a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I guess it all depends how much.
But everything just seems to fall apart when you've got them. That's the problem. It's like none of this happens when they're with Dad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. But what you're just saying there, we have elements of when you think, wow, actually, I've got so much to be grateful for. I've come so far. I've recently just read that they're actually called glimmers. So you've got triggers, which can trigger you into starting thinking negatively, and then you've got your glimmers, where you have little like moments of going, you know what, I'm all right. Like, I've come so far.
And you do have to keep reminding yourself, though, because I find glimmers can trigger me.
Yeah.
Because then I can be like, why are you being such a fucking idiot about this? You've got all of this stuff and you're making a massive fuss about that. So you've got to be careful not to use it as I'm so grateful and I'm okay. Everything's going to be fine. It doesn't need to be dealt with today.
Yeah.
Probably just need to eat some nourishing food and go to bed, which is exactly what I did. I basically just put myself to bed.
Yeah. I'll do that as well. It's like, good night.
You are not helpful today, so go to bed, and
we'll
you'll have
start
plenty
again
of time
tomorrow.
in the morning.
We'll throw ourselves in the sea.
Exactly.
And it'll all be fine.
Oh, Jo, this has been so lovely. Thank you so much.
You're very
for coming
welcome.
in and for sharing that, because I do feel like there's so many similarities, but like I have a lot to learn, I think, from the way you're doing things.
It's just a huge learning curve, isn't it? It's like just learning what works for you and what doesn't. But I remember you saying, actually, you didn't, I don't know, you put a post up or you'd done a podcast about it, about making friends at 40. And I was like, I could relate to that so much, because even when the guys were saying, we're going on the beach and we're going to have fire and marshmallows, there's people in, that I don't know in that sort of group. And and they were like, just come. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go. And then as I let this, I got into my own head and I'm like, oh God, I don't really know them though. They'll not want me around if there's just all of their friends. And it's really quite easy to talk yourself out of going. But when I went, and it was just the most wholesome night, and everyone was just sitting chatting.
The blue moon, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was
incredible.
Yeah. And then we got papped in the sea, and it's like those moments. I think they're meant to happen, and by pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and keep putting yourself in situations that challenge you and move you out of being comfortable. It's just growth, isn't it?
It is.
it's.
And I think when it comes to making friends, we're all still 10. turning up and being
it's hard
like,
to try and fit in, isn't it, as well? It's like,
can I be your friend? And you just feel super awkward and like, oh, and by the way, I don't drink.
Yeah.
And like you're apologising all the time.
What do you do then?
And I'm a bit of a show off, and I like talking. And
yeah. I mean, somebody said to me once, and it'll always stick with me, and I'll pass that on to anyone. It's like, if you want to take this route and you've decided that you want to live a sober life, like, just remember that you can do anything you want, right? You can achieve anything you want in this life. The only thing you can't do is drink. If you look at it that way, that just opens up a whole new perspective of things. Because if you just think, I can't drink, which means I can't go meet people, I can't go out and party, I can't meet a partner, I can't, I can't do this and do that. It's you just close yourself in. Yeah. Whereas in actual fact, you can do anything. Yeah. The only thing you can't do is have a drink.
I think for me, I'm like, I don't ever want to drink again, but I more feel like I'm apologetic to other people. Yeah. Because I'm still thinking that they think the way I used to think.
Yeah. You're just assuming that they're going to judge you. I learned that this morning.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay. It's like, when I don't drink, it's like...
Nobody actually cares what you're doing.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thanks for that admission, do you know what I mean? But actually, neither do we. Actually, that was just such a lovely thing about Dip Club. It was like, and I read their sort of bio on, and it was like, we are a sober, curious community. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and when you see how many people sort of go in, obviously not everybody's like sober who goes there, or sober curious, which is the new sort of, I'm only going to drink sometimes, I'm not going to drink all the time. And then when you realise that you're not the only one that doesn't want to do this lifestyle anymore. There's so many people. They've got 8,000 followers now who are like, yeah. And if you show them the way, people will follow, because sure enough, the people who are up that end of town, absolutely caning it, like, will be heading down to the beach to go, I need some peace. Yeah. I need to get in the sea. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So on that note, that's what we'll be doing. Mm-hmm. I'm going in later.
Oh, yeah.
Heading down to King Eddie's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What day is it? It's Monday, isn't it?
It's Monday, yeah.
So what are you doing tonight? Are you just meeting up, or are you just going by yourself?
Well, me and Lewis have got to go and do a sound check. Because do you know that I'm doing the ripple effect?
Yes. So when do they come?
They are coming the 8th of October.
And they're doing a dip, aren't they? With
Dip Club.
Yeah. Is that after you've talked to them?
Yes.
Or before? Okay.
So 9 a.m. we'll do like a Q&A with the authors. Mm-hmm. That's the bit that I'm doing. And then we'll all just go throw ourselves in the sea.
So where is it at? Is it at Whitley Bay? Or is
it's in King Eddie's.
King Eddie's. I do like
Time Out. It's at Riley's Fish Shack.
Oh. So where will they come here then?
No, we'll just record it down there. So that's why me and Lewis are going down to see if we can make sure the sound works, so that I can record it as a podcast and then put it live on Tuesday.
Wonderful.
But that's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no. You'd be great.
I've got 2 weeks.
You're a natural.
Thanks, Jo.
You're very welcome.
Well, thank you so much for coming down and for sharing all your stories of menopause and the sea and drinking and singleness. I really appreciate it.
It sounds quite depressing, doesn't it, at times?
But that's the thing, it's not, is it?
Yeah, it's just like...
You're literally a big kid that gets in the sea every day.
Yeah.
Are we regressing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I need to go back and tell her, it's like, you're going to be fine, you just keep dancing, girl.
Benjamin Button the shit out of this. We're just going to get younger as we get older.
That's another benefit as well, getting in the sea, isn't it? Like the sea glow that you get.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Look how fresh we are.
I know. Yeah. Fresh and vibrant. Alcohol-free princesses. Mermaids, even. Mermaids.
Well, thank you, Jo.
You're very welcome.
All right, then. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again next time for another episode of Happily Ever After with me, Hannah. It would be amazing if you could leave a review and subscribe. And of course, if you've got a friend who might enjoy this episode, please do pass it on. For anything else, you can get in touch with me through Instagram at mumsdays or by my website, mumsdays.com. And did you know that I've got a newsletter? So it's the best way to stay in touch and to make sure you don't miss any podcasts or any freebies or competitions that we're running. And again, you can sign up to that through the website.